Charlotte had always been a successful woman, surrounded by luxury and possessions. Her mansion with lush gardens and spacious rooms was a symbol of her achievements. However, there was something very sad in her life: loneliness. Despite having 5 children, all adults and busy, no one seemed to remember her existence. The days dragged on, an echo of silence that accompanied her in every corner of the house. Every day, Charlotte would look at the photographs that adorned the walls. Pictures of smiles and laughter from her family in happy moments. Memories of trips, birthdays, and celebrations that now seemed to belong to another life. The sadness grew more intense when she realized that those faces, once so close, had drifted away. The phone on her table remained silent, a constant reminder that her children were more concerned with their own lives than with their mother. One morning, while preparing for another lonely day, Charlotte sat at the dining table, ready to enjoy a meal with no company. The dish was exquisite, but the table was a desert, without laughter or conversation. The silence was so deep that she could hear the ticking of the clock on the wall, as if time was reminding her of every lost second. That afternoon, while reading a book, her eyes drifted toward the phone. Hesitation took over. She wanted to call one of her children, ask how they were, if they needed anything. But the memory of their cold, hurried responses made her give up. Who would I call? She thought, feeling the weight of loneliness increase. As evening came, Charlotte settled into her favorite armchair, a glass of wine in hand. The sun was setting on the horizon, bathing the house in a soft golden light. She reflected on the wealth she had and on what truly mattered in life. "Wealth doesn't fill the emptiness," she murmured, realizing that each sip of that wine brought out the bitterness of loneliness. And so, Charlotte spent her days surrounded by material goods, but without love, without the warmth of family presence. The mansion, beautiful on the outside, hid the pain of a forgotten woman whose life, despite being full of promise, had become an oppressive loneliness. One morning, Charlotte decided to go out for a drive, seeking a temporary escape from her loneliness. The day was sunny, and the fresh air brought slight relief to her heavy heart. She sat behind the wheel of her luxurious car, a symbol of her status and independence. But as she drove through the quiet streets of the city, a thought struck her. Life felt so empty without her children. While crossing an intersection, a runaway car suddenly appeared, crashing into her vehicle. The impact was brutal. Charlotte felt the collision, but everything became a blur. The last thing she remembered was the sound of shattering glass and the sharp pain that shot through her before she lost consciousness. When she woke up, the scene was chaotic. She was trapped between the wreckage of the car, with intense pain coursing through her body. Sunlight pierced through the twisted metal, but despair enveloped her like a dense fog. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. The feeling of being alone returned with force, and she feared no one would come to her rescue. It was then that Anna, a homeless woman passing by, noticed the accident. With a determined look, she ran toward the car. Upon seeing Charlotte, her heart sank. "Stay calm, ma'am. I'm here to help," Anna shouted, trying to comfort her. She lay down next to the car, firmly holding Charlotte's hand. "You're not alone. I'll stay here until the paramedics arrive." Anna's presence was a balm amid the panic. While they waited, Anna began talking about her life, her struggles, and her dreams. The conversation became a distraction, a bridge connecting two different realities. The minutes felt like hours, but finally the sound of ambulance sirens echoed in the distance, bringing hope. The paramedics arrived quickly, and Anna reluctantly had to step back as they began their work. With skill, they freed Charlotte from the wreckage and placed her on the stretcher. The pain was intense, but the kindness of a stranger accompanying her brought comfort. As she was being taken to the hospital, Charlotte looked at Anna, who was watching her with concern. "You're going to be okay, ma'am. I'll be here when you need me," Anna said before the ambulance drove off, taking Charlotte into the unknown. At the hospital, the doctors moved quickly around her, but Charlotte was distant, trapped in confused thoughts. Memories of her life, of her children, began to surface. She wondered if they would care, if they would come to visit her. The answer tormented her, but she didn't have the strength to face it. When Charlotte finally opened her eyes, the hospital walls were white and cold, contrasting with the warmth she had felt moments before. The smell of antiseptic lingered in the air, and the buzzing of the electronic devices surrounded her like a symphony of distant voices. She remembered the accident, the pain, and Anna, the woman who had held her hand. A faint smile appeared on her lips but quickly faded as the reality of the moment hit her. She was alone. Time seemed to drag as she waited for news. Charlotte didn't know what to expect, but the anguish of not having her children by her side was suffocating. She remembered how, years ago, she had always been there for them. No matter the challenges, she had given everything to ensure her children had a comfortable life. Now, at the moment she needed them the most, she felt abandoned. At the end of the day, one of her sons, Marcos, finally arrived. He walked in hurriedly, glancing at the watch on his wrist as she tried to smile at him. "Hi, Mom," he said, his voice tense. "How are you?" There was no emotion in his words, only superficial concern. Charlotte tried to find comfort in that moment, but the coldness of his visit hurt her. "Marcos, my dear, I'm fine, or at least I'm here. And you?" He replied quickly, explaining that he had an important meeting and couldn't stay long. "I just came by for a quick visit. Don't worry, everything will be fine." With a quick wave, he said goodbye, and Charlotte watched as he left, feeling an emptiness deepen in her heart. The days went by and her other children came, but each visit was the same. Each one, in their own time, made a brief appearance, expressing a concern that seemed driven more by obligation than affection. Valentina, the eldest daughter, brought flowers, but her gaze was distant. "Mom, you need to take care of yourself. I'm busy with work, but we'll talk later." And with that, she left without looking back. Days turned into a week, and although Charlotte was surrounded by doctors and nurses, she felt more isolated than ever. Her children were more interested in the inheritance than in her recovery. Every conversation she had with them became a painful reminder of how their love was conditioned by what she could offer. Finally, after 8 days, Charlotte learned it was time to go home. The discharge brought a mix of relief and anxiety. The hospital had been a place of solitude, but home represented the unknown, the loneliness within her four walls, but now without her children's support. On the way back, Charlotte looked out the car window, watching the city pass by quickly. It felt as though everything had changed, but at the same time, everything remained the same. She felt that the world around her continued, indifferent to her pain. What awaited her at home was an echo of her own loneliness, a mansion full of memories but without the presence of those she loved the most. As she entered her home, the silence enveloped her once again. Charlotte sat in her favorite armchair, looking at the framed photos that now seemed even more distant. The certainty that her children wouldn't be there to care for her overwhelmed her. As the sun set, she realized that although she was physically healed, the wound in her heart would take much longer to heal. After returning home, Charlotte felt lost amidst the vastness of her mansion. The days dragged on, and loneliness was a constant companion. The visits from her children were sporadic and superficial, and the thought that they only appeared out of interest hurt her more than the accident itself. As time passed, she began to lose herself in her thoughts, revisiting memories that were once happy, now tinged with sadness. One morning, while walking through the garden, Charlotte spotted a familiar figure that made her stop. It was Anna, the woman who had helped her after the accident. The homeless woman was leaning against a tree, watching the flowers with a smile on her face. Without thinking twice, Charlotte approached, drawn by the light that emanated from the young woman. "Hi, Anna," Charlotte said, trying to hide her surprise. "What are you doing here?" "I was passing by and saw the garden. It's beautiful, just like you," Anna replied with a sparkle in her eyes. I came to see how you were doing." Charlotte's heart warmed at those words. It was rare to find someone who truly cared about her. "I'm recovering. It's not easy, but I'm here." Anna stepped closer, looking into Charlotte's eyes. "You're strong. I saw that on that day. Don't let loneliness defeat you. If you need someone, I'll always be around." Charlotte smiled, feeling touched by the young woman's sincerity. "Thank you for being there for me. No one else cared as much." Anna smiled back, a smile that radiated kindness and hope. As the days passed, they began meeting regularly. Charlotte offered Anna a cup of tea and a spot to sit on the porch. Their conversations flowed naturally, and Charlotte discovered that Anna was a brave woman, full of dreams despite the challenges she faced. Over time, a special friendship blossomed between them. Charlotte, who had felt so isolated, found comfort and joy in Anna's presence. The young woman shared stories of her life, her struggles and aspirations, while Charlotte listened attentively, feeling that for the first time in years, someone was truly listening to her. One night, as the stars shone above, Anna talked about her desire to change her life. "I want to help other people who are going through tough times. There are so many lost souls on the streets, and I'd like to make a difference." Charlotte was amazed by her determination and realized that, despite her own struggles, she could still do something meaningful. "Why don't you come live with me?" Charlotte suggested, surprised by her own boldness. "You can help me around the house, and I can help you find a better path." Anna hesitated, but soon a smile lit up her face. "That would be amazing. I'd love to help you and in return, have a safe place to live." The decision was made. Charlotte invited Anna to live in her mansion, and the two women began to share their lives in ways they had never imagined. The house, once filled with memories of loneliness, now echoed with laughter and new stories. However, news of the new friendship soon reached Charlotte's children. They couldn't accept that a woman without wealth was taking the place they believed should be theirs. Ambition motivated them, and they were determined to intervene. The friendship between Charlotte and Anna grew stronger with each passing day. The mansion, once an empty space, was now full of life. They enjoyed each other's company, sharing meals and stories. Anna, with her simple and sincere nature, brought new light into Charlotte's life. The wealthy woman, once forgotten and lonely, began to rediscover joy and purpose. However, the harmony between the two did not go unnoticed by Charlotte's children. When they learned that their mother had invited a homeless woman to live with her, a growing discontent took root among them. Pride and ambition clouded their minds. They couldn't allow a stranger with nothing to take up space they considered rightfully theirs. Marcos, Valentina, and the other siblings gathered for a heated discussion. "This is unacceptable," said Marcos, slamming his hand on the table. "Mother is vulnerable right now. If she keeps up this friendship, we'll have nothing when she's gone." Valentina, who had always been the most calculating, agreed. "We need to act fast. She's drifting away from us. If this woman stays by her side, what will happen to our inheritance?" As they argued, the idea of putting Charlotte in a care home came up. "We could claim she's losing her sanity. This friendship with Anna isn't normal," suggested another brother, eager at the prospect of separating their mother from her friend. In the following days, Charlotte's children began to put their plan into action. First, they visited a lawyer and tried to gather evidence to support their claims. They spoke to neighbors and even some people in the community, attempting to tarnish Anna's reputation. Charlotte, on the other hand, was aware of the growing tension but couldn't imagine the depth of her children's desperation. When they arrived at her house, she smiled, thinking it was just a regular visit. But their cold looks and carefully chosen words soon revealed their intentions. "Hi, Mom," said Marcos in a concerned tone. "We need to talk. We've noticed you've changed, and this new friendship, well, it's not what you need right now." Charlotte frowned, confused. "What do you mean? Anna is a good friend. She's helped me so much since the accident." Valentina stepped in, her voice sharp. "But you can't stay around her, Mom. She's not trustworthy. You may not realize it, but your mental health could be at risk." Their words hurt Charlotte more than she had expected. She felt cornered, but her resolve didn't waver. "I am capable of deciding about my own life. Anna is a wonderful person and you can't just—" "We're doing this for you," interrupted Marcos, raising his voice. "We're only worried, Mom. We don't want you to get hurt anymore." Charlotte felt a wave of frustration rising. She realized that her children weren't there out of love, but out of self-interest. What had once been a family conversation had now turned into an emotional battle. That night, after her children left, Charlotte sat down with Anna and shared everything. Tears ran down her face as she spoke of the manipulation she was facing. Anna listened carefully, her eyes shining with empathy. "You're not alone, Charlotte. I'm here with you. And I won't let them hurt you," Anna promised, holding Charlotte's hand. Their bond grew stronger and Charlotte felt braver. However, her children's plan was in motion, and they wouldn't give up easily. Tension was rising, and the battle for Charlotte's autonomy was about to intensify. The days dragged on, and the atmosphere in the mansion was thick with tension. Charlotte knew her children were determined to separate her from Anna, but the strength of the friendship she had built with the young woman was unbreakable. Both were resolved to face adversity, united by a bond that had become stronger than any blood relation. One morning, the doorbell rang, and when Charlotte opened the door, she found her children, all with somber expressions. "Mom, we need to talk," Valentina said, in a tone that made her feel threatened. "We're worried about your health and your mental state. It's time for you to consider that this friendship with Anna might not be healthy." Charlotte took a deep breath, her determination growing. "I won't let you dictate my life. Anna is the only one who truly cares about me. You only show up when you think there's something to gain." "That's not true," Marcos shouted. "We just want what's best for you. You need help. We're going to take you to a specialist." The heat of the argument intensified, and Charlotte, feeling the pressure, decided it was time to put an end to it. "If you really cared about me, you would be here out of love, not out of interest. What I feel for Anna is real, and I won't let you treat her like she's an intruder." Charlotte's words cut like a knife. A heavy silence settled in, and her children stood frozen, as if the impact of her words left them speechless. She was tired of being seen as a source of wealth, a mere property to be divided among them. "And if I want Anna to be a part of my life? You have no right to push her away," Charlotte continued, her heart pounding. "I've done so much for you. Now it's my turn to choose." Anna appeared behind Charlotte, and seeing the tension on her face, she decided to step in. "Charlotte and I have built a friendship based on respect and understanding. I'm not a threat, and I won't allow you to treat your mother like this." Anna's bravery had an impact. Charlotte saw her children hesitate, and a flicker of doubt passed through their eyes. But soon, pride took over, and Valentina responded with disdain. "You have no idea what you're doing. If our mother continues with you, she could lose everything. We won't let that happen." The tension grew and voices were raised, but Charlotte refused to be shaken. "I no longer want a life filled with fear and loneliness. The love I feel for you has been underestimated, but now I have someone who truly sees me. And if you can't accept that, then I'll let you go." At that moment, something inside Charlotte broke but also strengthened. The thought of losing her children terrified her, but the idea of losing Anna was unbearable. What she had learned from the homeless woman was more valuable than any inheritance: true human connection. Charlotte's children, realizing they couldn't convince her, left the house, frustrated and powerless. Watching them go, Charlotte felt a mix of sadness and relief. A new life lay ahead of her, and it was time to embrace this new reality. As the days passed, the friendship between Charlotte and Anna deepened. They became like family, finding strength in one another. Charlotte learned to live for herself, and Anna began to pursue her own dreams. Together, they started working on projects to help others in need, forming a new mission in life. However, the true transformation occurred within Charlotte. She was no longer the lonely, forgotten millionaire. she had become an empowered woman who had rediscovered her worth and the ability to love without fear. With Anna by her side, she found a greater purpose and a sense of belonging she had never known. Though Charlotte's children, driven by their ambitions, eventually began to understand that true love is not measured by material possessions. The love they had neglected turned into regret. Over time, many questioned the true meaning of family, but Charlotte, now stronger than ever, knew that love wasn't about money, but about choices and genuine connections. And so, the mansion that had once been a symbol of loneliness became a home filled with laughter, love, and compassion. Charlotte had found happiness in an unexpected place, and with Anna by her side, she was ready to face whatever life had in store. The lesson was clear: true wealth is not measured by what we own but by the love we share. Thank you for following us this far. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories.